Today we will discuss 9 simple financial rules that I believe everyone should master, especially starting in their 20s as they are growing older. As part of these 9 financial rules, these rules were made popular back in 2013 by Harold Pollack, who was a professor at the University of Chicago. Back at the time, he found himself, due to certain family circumstances, looking at different money and financial research online and trying to figure out different similarities around all the professionals that he was looking at. And he came to a conclusion that most of these professionals had some similarities in terms of advices that they were giving out. And so he decided to make these very simplified advices and realize that all the advice that most people really need doesn't have to be that much complicated and could actually fit on a simple index card. And so these are called 9 simple financial rules that can fit on an index card. And he wrote these 9 on an index card, and he took a picture of it and posted it online, and it went viral that it was posted on different websites at the time. So in this video, we're going to be going into that, and I'm going to be giving you some of the reasons why I believe and agree 100% on some of these rules and maybe not 100% on some others. And I'll be giving out my own thought as to why. So, by the way, welcome back to Chibind Brothers. My name is Joao. Please allow me to ask you to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, as it helps us with the YouTube algorithm to get our message to a wider audience. The first rule is save 10 to 20% of your income. Guys, more than 50% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Basically, these are people that they struggle to make ends meet, and every month they spend everything that they earned and they have to work again to have more money. And so guys, I know this is hard for a lot of people to be able to do because of certain situations that people are in, but I believe that people can actually cut on certain unnecessary spending that they don't need to be able to actually grow their savings. And so one of the things here, especially for having a saving, is because you want to be able to create financial security, meaning that to have at least an emergency fund. And this emergency fund is you can use it by setting a goal of how much money you want to have in an account that is just sitting there just in case something happens. And also, for most people to be able to do this, people need to be able to cut unnecessary spending, like I just said earlier. For example, that Starbucks coffee that you always buy. You know, this is one thing that I did a couple months ago where I just sat down and looked at all my expenses trend over a longer period of time, and I realized that I was spending money on things that I didn't need, and I was able to actually cut back on certain expenses and able to save an extra $200 every month. And I believe that a lot of people should be able to at least save an extra $50 to $100 a month by looking at exactly what they are spending their money on. And another thing that people can do is some people can have like a small side hustle that they can use to generate some side income that they can use to save for their emergency fund. And then the second rule is max out your 401k or any equivalent employee contribution. What is a 401k? A 401k is an employee provided retirement account. The idea with a 401k is that you are able to invest in this account with tax-free money, and that by the time that you retire at 65, you would be hopefully in a lower tax bracket, and you will be able to retrieve that money out and pay at a much lower tax rates in the future. And this is where I personally don't really agree much with 401ks because of how they are. This is basically assuming that by the time you retire, you're hoping that you will be, you know, making less money than now so that you'll be in a lower tax bracket. And, you know, based on my own goal and where I see myself in the future, I don't really much agree with this. But what I think that 401k provides to a lot of people is, for example, a lot of companies provide what they call employee match. So that means for every $1 that you put in your 401k, your employee can match that $1 up to a certain percentage. So this is free money. Why not take it, right? The third rule is buy inexpensive and well-diversified index funds. So guys, what is an index fund? An index fund, typically, these are funds that usually track a basket of stocks. And what I mean by this is, let's take, for example, in the United States, the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is a US stock market index that tracks the 500 biggest US companies. And so when you invest in an index fund, these are index funds that are tracking, for example, the performance of the S&P 500. And so in America, the reason why, for example, we're saying here that to buy these inexpensive index fund is, for example, when we look at a company like Vanguard has index funds such as VOO, which tracks the performance of the S&P 500, or other index funds such as the VTI, which is the total stock market index fund. And basically these funds have very low expense ratio to the orders of 0.03%. What does this mean? This means that if you invest $10,000, within a year, you would only pay about 3% in fees. And these historically, especially like the S&P 500, will historically return on average about 8%. The fourth rule is never buy or sell an individual security. Guys, the other person on the side of the table knows more about this stuff than you do. What does this mean? This means that never buy or sell an individual stock. Guys, I don't fully agree with this one because personally, I believe that this doesn't make sense for people who are actually willing to put the work in, people who are actually willing to learn how to pick different stocks. But the problem is, I feel like I also agree to some extent with this rule is that I believe that a lot of people rather not put the work in. A lot of people don't know. And I can almost, just guarantee you that stock picking is not easy. Stock picking is hard. Even myself, I do that, but I know it's not easy. It is hard. So I believe that this rule does make sense for a big portion of the population, for people who doesn't want to put the work in, people who don't have the education. And so these people can just only buy index fund, as we said in the previous rule. And so the next one is you should pay your credit cards in full every month. So this is the fifth rule. And so, guys, credit card debt is a big issue in America. A lot of people are in credit card debts, and one of the big reasons that I've realized that a lot of people are in credit card debts is because many people lack financial education. Basic financial education is not taught in school, and many people make a lot of mistakes with credit cards. As an example, I will give you this example. Myself, I'm from the Democratic Republic of the Congo in Central Africa. In Africa, in the Congo, where I grew up, I never knew credit. Everything that my parents owned, everything that my parents bought, it's all paid off. The cars, the houses, everything. That is just the society that I grew up in. And then I came to America, and then I find this society that pushes people to take debt. And a lot of people don't even understand how debt works. And many people keep making mistakes. And one of the things, the big issue with credit cards is because credit cards have high excessive fees, and people do not realize that these high excessive fees on credit cards can compound over time. And that's why people should pay off their credit cards every month. And so one of the reasons why some people are not able to do this is because some people spend money that they don't have in the first place. You're not supposed to spend money that you don't have. The credit card should only be there to help you pay expenses that you already have to make. For example, your rent. For example, insurance and stuff like that. These are the type of expenses that you can put on your credit card and then set automatic payments of these every month, because hey, you have to pay rent every month anyway and you have that money. These are the kind of things that should be put on a credit card. But a lot of people make mistakes and they use these wrongly. The next one, which is the sixth one, is maximize your tax saving vehicles, such as, for example, Roth IRAs or 529 plans. So now, what is a Roth IRA, for example? A Roth IRA is another retirement account like the account, like for example, a 401k. But the difference with a Roth IRA here is that the Roth IRA is not employer provided. This one, you can just open it by yourself. And the big difference here is too that in a Roth IRA, you actually invest with money that you've already paid tax on. That means in the future, when you retire, you will be taking this money tax-free. You don't have to pay any taxes. So you should be maxing out this type of account. I myself have a Roth IRA with E-Trade, and I try to max it out every month. I believe the max for Roth IRAs is about $500. And so what is a 529 plan? A 529 plan is an account that allows parents to save money for their kids for college. For example, you can save this money and you'll be able to pay college tuition for your kids or books and anything that pertains to college. Guys, the 7th rule is pay attention to fees and avoid actively managed funds. Guys, this is where I do not agree with especially a lot of 401ks, because a lot of employees are not told exactly by these 401ks how the money is being subtracted in fees. And the big issue too is that even some of them that do actually tell employees how they're paying fees, the problem is they prepare very long reports with very complicated English, very complicated words that a lot of people on the weekends will not just sit down at their house and try to figure out how they're losing money in fees in their 401ks. And so this is a very shady area that I personally don't like with this whole system. And so the other thing too with avoiding actively managed funds is because a lot of these 401ks would have these people's money invested in actively managed funds. And what are actively managed funds? Actively managed funds are funds, for example, that are very similar to index funds that we spoke about. But the difference here is that index funds are passively managed. Not a lot of work is actually being done there. It's kind of like automated. But actively managed funds are not passive. This is where they actually have some kind of famous fund manager who's in charge of relocating the different assets and capital in this fund. And what ends up happening is they have super high excessive fees, and these fees end up hitting a lot of people's next egg. And that's why a lot of people should stick to index funds. And if you actually want to put the work in, then you can also look into individual securities. But I do not advise people to buy and hold individual securities, like I said in one of the previous rules. The next one here is make your financial advisor to commit to a fiduciary. Guys, this is one of the big things that I don't understand with a lot of people is a lot of people trust other people with their money. It's really crazy how society can do this. Society doesn't trust a lot of people or their neighbors with a lot of stuff, but somehow they trust somebody else with their money. And the big issue here is that a lot of financial advisors are not exclusively fiduciary, meaning that these people a lot of them are brokers. And brokers mean that they don't have to act in the best interest for you, but they can act in their best interest, because being a broker, some of the product that they recommend to you, some of the product that they buy in your account as they're managing your accounts, for example, these product may have super high fees, and so they make a lot of money on fees, and they also make money on commission. So these don't have to be great products to start in terms of performance and making you money. And then on top of that, they have super high excessive fees. So it's really not good for the customer. And a lot of people really have to make sure that if they're using a financial advisor, this guy, he's a fiduciary, meaning that this person will have to act in your best interest and not their own interest. And guys, to be honest here, I'm not gonna lie to you. Personally, I don't think I need financial advisors unless I become like a billionaire, because at that point, I can hire a financial advisor that exclusively work for me. That is different than having financial advisors that have multiple clients. It is totally different, because then when they exclusively work for me, they have all the time and they will work in my best interest. But for most of us, we don't have the luxury of doing that. And I don't think that people, personally, I don't think that I even need a financial advisor, because I think that I have the knowledge and I'm willing to learn to be able to manage my money by myself. And the truth is, nobody else will ever look out for your money better than yourself. So the last one, the ninth one, is you should promote social insurance that will help people when things go wrong. Guys, this is one thing I've realized with a lot of people, and a lot of people go cheap on these things. Guys, you need health insurance, you need auto insurance, and you also need home insurance. A lot of people don't have these things, and for example, auto insurance, and then they end up in an accident. And what happens here is, let's say their car is totaled and they don't have a car anymore. And then let's say, that accident was probably with somebody else. Now they hope to pay some money to the other person, and some things like that. It's just these things can actually be prevented by just having an insurance. And I know these are expensive, and I know a lot of people don't want to pay these. Some people may not even afford having these. But I'm telling you, the truth is, paying these upfront will save you a lot of money than having to be in a situation where, for example, if you end up getting sick and then you go to the hospital, and then now you have a big bill that you have to pay that you could have avoided if you had health insurance in the first place. Now, I hope that I provided you with enough value in this video. If that was the case, please allow me to ask you to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, as it helps us with the YouTube algorithm to get our message to a wider audience. With that being said, if you would like to start investing into the stock market and don't have an account with Webull, please, you can sign up using our Webull link in the description below. And when you sign up and deposit at least $100, we both get free stocks. Or you can use a passive investing route, and you can use our M1 Finance link in the description below. And when you sign up and deposit this $100, we both get $30. Or if you want to invest in the cryptocurrency market and don't have an account with Coinbase, you can use our Coinbase link in the description below. And when you sign up and buy at least $100 worth of cryptocurrencies, we both get $10 worth of Bitcoin. And lastly, if you don't have an account with BlockFi, and you can use BlockFi to store your cryptocurrency there, and BlockFi will pay you some interest, please, you can use our link in the description below. And when you sign up and deposit your crypto there, we will both get some money. With that being said, I'd like to say thank you, and I'll see you in my next video on Sunday. Bye.